Ooh, what's going on YouTube? It's Donnie B all day. So today we're going to do a little something different. We're going to talk about not knife companies, not knife makers or builders. We're going to talk about just specific designers. And these are the five guys I don't want to say like I look up to, because I don't have that. I don't have that. Oh, I look up to. But as knife designers, guys who I really respect what they do and how they do it, like the way their concepts come to life. These are probably my top five, and I have to say, I have a copy of one of them, like a copy of his design. I have one of his designs, none of his designs, none of his designs, and none of his designs. So I only have actual one design. No, actually two designs, but because even one of them, it wasn't made by him. So I don't have anything from these guys specifically that they've ever done. But here's the thing: as a designer myself, and this happens to be right next to me, so I'll pull it out. As a designer, I'm really picky on other designs, like how somebody comes together or measures or doesn't measure or doesn't take into account of things that don't belong or things that are getting to get you hung up on a knife or things that just aren't right. I'm really, really freaking picky about that kind of stuff because it's not that hard. It's not that hard to come up with a knife that doesn't have things that suck on it, right? And so for me, there's only a few guys who I really like. Andrew Demko. Andrew Demko makes the 4 Max. I freaking love the 4 Max. I think design for design, it's just so badass, man. That thing is dope. But he's got some other designs that I'm just like squeak, squeak, squeak. That, you know what I mean? I just can't get into. So as an overall designer, does he design one of my favorite folders? Yeah. But as an overall designer, it's like Hinderer. Awesome stuff. He's actually pretty close there on the top of my list. But it's just, there's just some things that go above. You look at famous designers. You think of like the most famous designers you could think of, like Gil Hibben. Not one of my top designers. Gil Hibben does a lot of goofy fantasy stuff. Can't get into it. Just can't. I can't do it. He designs other stuff that's beautiful. There's non-fantasy stuff, but a lot of it, like the Muso, his Muso style buoy, his Bloodwood edition, this and that, and he did the one for the Expendables with the white handle on a Muso buoy. Gorgeous. But like I did mine, the blade wasn't my design. I actually copied that original Muso buoy design because I wanted an original Muso buoy. My design came in the grip. That's where all my design, and then it just came down to like finishing touches and colors. That's it. But as far as the design itself, like this was an all-out full design. That Preacher is a 100% original, nobody else has one design. So when it comes to stuff like that, I really look to not just originality, but is it done right? And that's the main thing. And one of the guys on this list that is in my top 5 designers isn't one that does things so far out of the box, like, wow, no one else is doing that. This guy just does it right. And while I don't have one of his, he's on my very short list to get. And I'll probably end up ordering one soon just because I'm talking about it and I love his freaking knives. So I'll say my 5th favorite designer is going to be Brad Larkin from Bradford Knives. Bradford Knives, and this is where normally I'd take one out and I'd show it to you. But what I'm going to do is I'll link like their pages below, so you can check out each one of their pages and see what they're about. And a lot of these guys, they design for other companies too. Like one of my favorites, I have one of his designs, but it's made by a different company. I just happen to love the design. But with Brad Larkin, His designs are all, I think, through Bradford. It's his own company, and every single knife is purposely not just made, it's not just purposely built, it's purposely designed, like designed to perfection. And there's a lot of makers out there, a lot of designers out there that'll design just for complete purpose, and they are 100% purposeful knives, but that doesn't mean they're always good looking either. Brad doesn't just design working knives, he designs working knives that are really, really good looking, just really nice pieces. So that's how he ends up as my 5th favorite knife designer on the planet. Number 4, and this was one I almost subbed him for another guy, but the respect I have for what this guy does. His name is Brian Beegler. He does Beegler Knife Works. And the only way you'd ever know who he is or know his stuff is if you are a Balisong fan, a butterfly fan, which I happen to be. And I have some really nice pieces, but I don't have one of his. But his butterfly designs, and I know it's just like Brad with like Bradford. You're thinking, okay, it's just a typical drop point Skinner, and a lot of his designs pretty much look alike. And they are different sizes, but they're just perfect. And with Brian over at Beegler Blade Works, his butterfly knives, his Balisongs, are just works of art, man. The blade shapes are phenomenal. His thought to detail as far as putting balance in with creativity, because that's the hardest thing when you're talking about a Balisong. It's not just, can I make a blade that looks good, but it has to not just function, but it has to be balanced when you're talking about that. Like with the Bradford knives, if it's a knife this long, you don't have to worry about balance. That's not something that comes into play. But with a butterfly, that is a major factor. And I think Brian Beegler is probably one of the best, like, on the planet. He's just so freaking good with that. All right, so number 3, my 3rd favorite designer, and this is a guy who I have one of his designs, RMJ Tactical. I have my CRKT kanji T-Hawk, my favorite all-time little tomahawk. I freaking love it, and it was designed by Ryan Johnson. Ryan from RMJ Tactical, it's his own site. He does pieces for people all over the place. So he's one of those guys that you can buy his designs not under his name, right? It's like with me. You buy my designs, but not under my name. It's not from D-Bad Forge. You're buying Krakow, you're buying Kukri House, or whoever else is making it. So that's what he does, but he also has his own stuff, which is awesome. So if you get a chance to check out RMJ Tactical, check him out. Well, you do have a chance because I'm going to put the link down there. But his kanji T-Hawk, he does a few different styles, is just amazing. And then when you look at his stuff, you'll see, and the reason I'm such a big fan of him, I'm a big tomahawk guy, right? And obviously you guys see my throwing videos. Some of his hawks are just literally the best on the planet. His design work, he doesn't put goofy hooks on the end that are going to catch your hand. He doesn't have things that are going to fold over your hand to where if you hit something and the blade turns and you end up bleeding to death. Everything he does is made through thought, through what is going to be practical, usable, balanced, and just freaking beautiful. So, and like his stuff is pretty badass. So, and speaking of badass, that leads me to my 2nd favorite, and this is a guy who I would love to have one of his blades. If any of you have one and you want to pass it off, let me know. That would be really nice. Out in South Africa, there's a place called ADV Tactical. And it's down here. It's listed. Andrew De Villers. I think that's how you pronounce his name. De Villers. I don't know how you pronounce his name. But his stuff, man, I look at his stuff all the time. It's just, he's got like cool factor stuff. Like when you look at his blades, you're like, ooh, man, it looks like just a photo of it on a table by itself. It looks like it's killing 3 people. He has got some crazy cool stuff, and it's pure art, just steel art, man. The guy, his designs, golly. And I know a couple of these names I'm throwing at you are probably something you've never heard. Like everybody knows who Bradford is. Everybody knows RMJ, but like Brian Beagler and Andrew Villiers, not everybody knows these guys, but everybody should. These guys are just, when you're talking the knife world, when you're talking about knife designer community, these guys should be names that roll off the tip of your tongue, even though you can't pronounce them. So check his stuff out. Man, it is phenomenal. And that leads me to my number one, numero uno. And really, my number one, this guy, all it took was one knife. One knife to be my favorite all-time designer. All-time designer. And here's the craziest thing. If it was me who did the knife, would I change things? Like if I think about Andrew Villiers' knives, there's nothing I would change. Brian Beagler's knives, there's nothing I would change. You know what I mean? It's like I would not change those knives. If I first saw this guy, the other guy's knives, my number one, I'd be like, oh, maybe I wouldn't do that, or I would do. No, I would actually alter things. Yet he's still my favorite, and it only took literally one, and then two. So you guys might already be halfway connecting this. 2 knives to be my all-time favorite, and that is the captain, Mr. Jimmy Lyle, the maker of the Mission knives, the original Rambo knives, the 1 and 2, the First Blood knives. Man, that's all it took to breathe fire into my knife heart. That literally opened the forge within me. It took that one knife, that First Blood knife, to make me go, I'm a knife guy. I am now automatically a knife guy. I saw Rambo when I was a kid, and I was sold on that First Blood knife. That's what, and I have copies of his knives, just like I have an RMJ design. The copies, even though they're just copies of Jimmy Lyle's knives, I don't have any real ones. I have identical ones, so same size, same cut, everything. So it thrills me, even though they're cheap remakes, to own them because the design is Jimmy Lyle's. I mean, a Mission 1 knife by Jimmy Lyle, dream knife. Even his protege, because you think about it, if a guy passes or even retires and passes his business to a protege, somebody who's been learning under him, which means he's using his tools, his cuts, his dies, whatever he's doing, everything he's doing, and he's doing it to the 100% exact specification without zero flaw, you're getting still the same knife. And I think people have problems with that. So if you have a guy who's making a knife that's 100% identical, using the same exact stuff in the same exact shop, you're getting that knife. Because you think about it, if he's his protege, that means at the same time when Lyle was alive making knives, his protege was also making knives. And when you bought one, you may have bought one that was actually made by the protege, but you bought a Lyle. Jimmy Lyle might have never put his hands on it, right? But you're buying a Lyle. And so a lot of people hear things like, oh yeah, but it's not Lyle anymore, it isn't that. He's using the exact same tools Lyle used. The same shop, the same everything. All the, like, Lyle had his prints out, right? His what do you call it? You know the word. The things that you trace and all that. So everything that Lyle used to make these knives, this guy's still doing. So the knife is actually the same knife. It's the same steel, same thread, same font, same way it's done. Every single thing about the knife is a Lyle knife. So even today, if I went and got one today, even though Lyle has already passed, I'd still be buying a Lyle knife. And that would just excite me just the same. It doesn't matter who in the shop is making it, because if, like, you go to Italy and you go to the Vatican, right? Vatican City, and you see all these statues right up on top of this arch, these two arches, and they go like this, and they're all Michelangelo statues, and everybody, oh, Michelangelo. But Michelangelo didn't carve all those. He had his students working on all these. But if you go there, they're Michelangelo priceless things. He didn't carve them. That was his students. He had them doing it his way, showing them how to do it. So it's the same kind of thing with that. But those are my top 5. Those are my 100% top 5 knife designers of all time. Jimmy Lyle, Andre de Villers, Brian Beegler, Brad Larkin, and Ryan Johnson. Check out some of these links below, or check out all the links below, to really get a feel and see what about these guys inspires me to be a knife designer. Why they kind of like, I look at them as torch holders. You know what I mean? These guys are just great. These guys are literally just great at what they do. And that's it. That's it, man. So that's it for this one. I am Donnie B all day. Until next video. I said video.